Hey, yesterday I was talking to down in my head. And of course I'm talking to a psychiatrist at the same time, and she's a little bit freaked out about that. And uh I'm trying to tell them, oh, it's a connection between the East and the West, and you have to think about Buddhism and spirituality, and then you have to think about psychiatry. And the really interesting thing that I found this recently online was from academia.edu. I think that's the right website. And they had some information about Dante. But I think, I have to be careful because I want things to be a certain way. And actually, sometimes they're not what I want them to be. And I'm starting to make believe that things are a certain way. And I thought Darren put something on my phone, just a message on a message bar. So, there's nothing to prove. I only have threads of information to say that I'm actually connecting with Darren in some way. But anyway, on the message bar, I found something that made me link to this academia.edu, where there was a paper about Dante, and it mentioned psychosis within Dante and schizophrenia and narcissism. And it was a really kind of enlightening, let's say, paper, because all those things were in Dante. Yes. So this is what I'm thinking this week. And so I read the paper, really interested, went to Paris. That was um fun. And I started to think about a lot of stuff, and I started to take more control of daily events and actions, and it scared me because normally I just let things slide, but now I'm trying to engage more with my reality and make sure that I'm taking part in what I'm creating. And because I'm trying to do this, I got really scared and I wanted to go back home or back to the hotel room and just hide for the day. And it was a simple thing, like we went to a cafe, poor service, bad atmosphere, breakfast. A very big deal for John is breakfast and for many English people. And I just thought, what, if this goes pear shaped, it's going to ruin his day. It's going to ruin my day. I was off to Versailles. I didn't want that to happen. And so I just said, let's get out of here and go up the street. And we did, and it worked, and it was fine. But in between actually leaving one restaurant to find another one, I started to have a real stress and panic attack because I normally don't make those decisions and I let things slide, and then I blame other people when things don't go right. So that is something I changed this week. And maybe I shouldn't be doing this live because I didn't really think about what I was going to say. Yes. Well, I should probably talk about the, so many things, and I should have written them down. But one of the things is yesterday I was on the bicycle, and I'd already tweeted out about she's gone in the morning with Daryl Hall and John Oates. And then I wanted to listen to the song again, and below the song and were lyrics, but not the Hall and Oates lyrics. They were the Steel Heart lyrics to a song called "She's Gone." And so I listened to it, and then I realized it. Well, I'm thinking that it was Darren who jigged it so that it was Hall and Oates' picture, but below it was actually the lyrics for "She's Gone" by Steel Heart. I'm not sure if that's true. Anyway, I listened to it and I thought, what, that relates probably to how Darren, I hope, how Darren's feeling, because what I want is for him to find a way out of being in his current situation. Because although I think I've read that people who are narcissistic, people who are narcissistic actually don't mind being narcissistic because they're always winning, and maybe I don't know, maybe they feel alone, but I also know that beneath, I can see beneath that shield of Darren's. I can't see it below everybody. That's why I connected so deeply with him, was because I could see below that shield, and I know there's something deeper down that if he tries to access it, he'll feel better. And I'm hoping that he can find a way to do that because it's part of his road to enlightenment. And so I tweeted out that song and I said, I wanted to be evil and whatever. It was supposed to be a joke, but I was on the bicycle and I could feel my heart starting to race. But normally my heart doesn't, I'm pushing kind of hard, but I'm not pushing hard enough for my heart to race like it's out of emotional control. And after I tweeted that out, then I felt my heart racing out of emotional control. And I started thinking, is this my heart connecting with Darren's heart? And and I thought, it might be. And then the doctor, who hasn't been in my head for weeks, was like, "This is dangerous. Don't you?" I'm like, "You're like poking the bear," and it's crazy because I could feel Darren's anger. And one time, Darren's been mad at me before, and one time I could feel him driving from his place all the way to mine, and then he turned around at a corner just very near my place for Parkview Court, and just got control of himself. But he was so angry, and this is the kind of anger I felt coming across. And I'm like, oh boy, it's sorry. And then I realized, I have to make the whole connection because people are going to think I'm a jerk anyway for tweeting I want to be evil, and I don't actually want to be evil. But but the way Eartha Kitt presents it is quite nice and funny and appealing because she makes it cute and coquettish, which she's so young and cute then, and so in any event, I tweeted out the thing about Dante, and what seemed to happen. I don't know if this is. I'm going to just tell you my version of events, and we can call it I have to link words all together. So fiction is not nonfiction is not fake. So let's call it fiction because it's all coming from my mind and it's like a story. And I'm just going to tell you it like it's a story and it's not. You can glean from it what you will. Uh, so so I connected with the doctor. He said it was scary, the bear, poking the bear, Darren getting annoyed. And then I looked up Dante. And luckily it came up to the second step of Dante. Like I haven't read Dante before, but I'm going to listen to it on Audible. And I'm going to listen to Thus Spoke Zarathustra on Audible because I'm not able to sit down and actually get that kind of thing done. So if I do it while I'm cleaning or something, at least I'll get the story into my mind so I'll understand it. And also, I think it's just important for me because Thus Spoke Zarathustra has a lot of elements of spirituality and links Buddhism with Western thought. And so that's important for me. And also, it's Nietzsche. So he's really important for me to read, and so is Dante important for me to read. And in fact, I bought that novel a long time ago, but never read it. And I even wrote about that to Darren, having bought it. And the neighbor next door, I presented it from the open book. I bought it and I showed it to the neighbor next door because she asked what I was going to be reading. And I never thought I was actually going to read the book, but I was quite pleased that I got to present it to her as if I was going to read it because there was a little, competition there in my mind between she and I. And, and anyway, so I think it's important to read those things and I'm rambling. And then after I tweeted out about Dante, Darren said that, wow, he came back into my mind and he's like, calmer, much calmer, because of course, I really owe him a lot. because I asked him to organize me. He's organized me, and and it's kind of up to me to make things happen and to get over this next level of fear of looking at myself in the mirror, in the mirror too, as well as in the videos, and to actually be able to present myself to people. So this is why I'm doing it live, because I'm just trying to be as natural as I can without being too much. And look, I'm fixing my hair, and I know only one person's watching me. It's probably Darren. And 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 I'm glad only one person's watching me. And so he came. So to get to the point of the story, I'd probably have to edit this if I could bear to look at myself over and over again to edit. Maybe I'll try to do that with this. Dante came up in my mind, and I, searched it, sent it out, and it calmed Darren down, because he does deserve a lot of credit, and it is supposed to help him, and it's not trying to poke the bear. It's trying to actually be positive. But he came back and said that it just sent things spiraling, because philosophers were interested, and psycho did you say psychiatrist? He said, "Oh, the Pope is going crazy." I mean, I don't know if any of this is true. It's crazy. And then, so what Bill Coleman is putting up on Facebook seems to indicate things are getting live and going live, and things are, were interesting for them all yesterday. And then this is all happening in my mind. And then in my real life, in my day-to-day life, I'm scared to talk to people, even at the gym, who are considered kind of socially, media-wise, important. And and they're so nice, but I'm just scared to talk to them, because I have a lot of reverence for them. And I think that maybe I don't deserve to be talking to them, because they're like up here. Um, as far as their regard within the media and film, and even news, I guess, entertainment news, um, money. They have tons of money, and so I just, so the reality of my world, and the fiction part of my world, the part that's in my mind, I have to try and marry them together. And it's really scary. Like, just me getting in front of this camera today, it's worse for me than trying to go to jujitsu class, because, I have to show myself verbally. And, I've been used to not talking to people really at all about anything. With reference to me. And when I get in front of it, I get so serious, and that's not really how I like to be. And I prefer to be kind of entertaining and funny. But to be entertaining and funny, I actually need to be uh, communicating with people in real time. So this is the next thing that I have to get over. It's really hard to be ha ha funny and interesting and on camera by myself. So I have to think of what I need to do next. And the way of doing that for me is to build things slowly. I just have to build and build and build and build and build. It's a long, slow march, rather than, it's a long, slow march. It's just that. And so what I'm trying to do now is get in front of the camera. I have my makeup. Thank you, Melina, in Paris. And, it's a lot better than it was previously. And now I have to get lighting. I have to find some content that I actually want to talk about. And then I just have to keep going until I feel less fear. And so until I can talk to people in reality, that I think in my mind, according to other sources I should be feeling very confident about talking to. Because like even the doctor came over and he said, Karen, they're talking about this this love um, story being one of the greatest ever in the world, or the greatest love story ever. And I'm like, really? And this is the doctor. I haven't talked to him in weeks. And I said, oh, where have you been? And I said, I thought you were gone now. And I thought maybe he found a girlfriend or something. And he said, no, I know you love me. It's no problem. I'm like, but that doesn't mean you can just leave me. Don't like that very much. But he, that is what he said. And then odd things happen. Like the other day, the reason I thought about the Hall& Oates song was John said to me, we started talking, we were out on, I think it was last week. It was last week in Paris, and he was talking about Hall& Oates and that song being covered by a lot of people. And one of the team, the duo, said that it was the best. They did the best version of that song ever, and they were really proud of that. And John said that their harmonies were so great. And then a few days later, I woke up and there was that song in my mind, and I knew I had to tweet it out. This is how these things go. And I have no rhyme or reason for them. They just show up. Another thing John said to me, um, that was interesting was after I went to see the doctor and the nurse about 2.5 weeks ago now, um, he he said, I had a dream last night. It was the night after I saw them. And he said, Karen, I had a dream last night that we were on a military boat in the middle of an ocean. And the boat said that, or on the boat, we were in a restricted area. We were in a restricted area on this boat. And then a boat that didn't have um, reason to be in the waters, it had two women on it, and they came in too close to this military boat, and they were in trouble. And he said, I don't know why I had that dream, but I did have that dream. And see, so I think sometimes that how long have I been on here? I think sometimes that John has actually been one. He's meant to be a companion on my way towards whatever this path on this path. And he's been like a guide the whole time. I mean, I couldn't have done a lot of the stuff I've done without him, because he was really the one who pushed everything. I was kind of laid back and just went with the flow, and he pushed and he pushed and he pushed, and he always made a salary, and he always created situations where we would have interesting things to do. And when I first met him, when he came on the airplane, oh my gosh, I have so many things to talk about. Actually, I should organize this, but problem is when I think about it, it doesn't come so easily. It comes out like, well, it's coming out rambling now. Anyway, when he came off the plane and I saw him, there was a whisper in my mind that said, "That's him." And I knew I had to stay with him no matter what. Like he was some sort of guiding light, and he was bright. He had a halo around him when he first came off the plane. It was quite strange, and and a lot of the music that I've been introduced to has been through John, and I don't even know where he finds this stuff or where he hears it. I think let's not go into John, but where he finds it, and I've used a lot of it. I've used an awful lot of it in my presentations over the last few years. So I think this is all like some sort of strange plan that's happening. Can it be? I don't know. I don't know what's happening. It's all quite unusual. But for example, yesterday, the 19th, not yesterday, the Tibetans had a, or the Buddhists had a holiday, some of the Buddhists, regarding Buddha coming down from I think pronouncing Tushita heaven or Tushita heaven, and coming to earth. And that was when, and the holiday is celebrated over the last few weeks. And over the last few weeks, I've uploaded lots of content of the last things that have happened to me over the few years, and starting to coalesce information to make it more like, um, me coming to earth, me coming down out of a out of the tower, because I broke my connection with Darren, who, we all know his, well, we've talked about him, and his intentions are good and they're bad. And so for me to be myself, I had to break with him because the relationship between us wasn't healthy and was something that, I needed to do to actually grow within myself and to reach a point of enlightenment and to be a better person. Um, and I don't know. I'm trying to work this out with you right now, and I think it's something that happens. I wish I had somebody to talk to, a group of people to talk to. It would be amazing. Um, who actually believed in this stuff, and but I think it's always been like some sort of plan or path, and like, for example, my mother being and my father, the circumstances I was in prepared me for what would be ahead, and was part of, like, I couldn't have connected with Darren unless I had that same connection with my mother. And, I couldn't probably have connected with John unless I had that same connection with my dad. And so there's, and then I had to overcome these obstacles. And it was all a way to grow and make connections and make a story. And all along the way, I had people who were introducing me to music. There was my grandfather, my father even listened to jazz music a lot, and he loved Ella Fitzgerald and Benny Goodman and all those kind of things. But they never really liked the rock and roll stuff. That was something that I picked up from television from John. Um, I never really liked it when I was in high school. The kids would listen to metal and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, my mother she listened to Spanish music, Spanish guitar. She loved that and loves that, and classical music. She would listen to the simulcast from the Metropolitan Opera, from Lincoln Center. She'd listen to the Boston Symphony. Um, then there were the Moriartys, who brought in music from the city. I never would have listened to Soul Train without the Moriartys. Who There's so many. There's then the biggest one was one of the biggest ones was Bill Coleman. I picked up things along the way, like when I was in Ireland, I went to some concerts. I heard some new music which connected me with Bill Coleman. Then there was Barry and Jerry, but mostly Barry, and then we had John and John's friend, Brian Thomas. Then there was Darren, who brought in world music. And all along the way, I'm listening to radio stations in Paris, Boulder, San Francisco a little bit, New York City definitely. Not just it's London, Radio One, when we used to bring Ryan to school in the car. But it feels like everything was a link and a connection and something that was meant to happen. And now here we are. And I just am coming down to earth because everything was, it was like I was absorbing everything and not engaging. It was like I was absorbing but not engaging. Now I have to find ways to engage that are, um, relevant and useful, um, to the next steps. And I don't know what those next steps are. I guess we're going to see. I think I make it up as I go along. So, and hopefully, one of the steps is Darren reaching enlightenment. And I guess I have to help him do that because he helped me. And it's not always going to be pleasant for him because it wasn't pleasant for me. And it's scary and it's hard and it's lonely. And it's something that happens when you try to do the right thing and when you try to be a better person. And, you, it's like everything. You have to try and you just have to keep every day. You just have to, like Mr. Wexler used to say to me in algebra class, and geometry and trigonometry and calculus. I'm so bad at all those. Just keep plugging away, Karen, plugging away. And, it would get there eventually, but it takes my brain a really long time to pick up all these systems and ways of behaving and how to be myself. I mean, within within company without being too much, too little. It's all practice, practice, practice. And I guess today I just got on here because every day I'm trying to do something, and um, and I guess this is the easiest thing to do, although it's the hardest thing to do, but it's the most relevant because it's something that keeps pushing me forward to pull information and start to create a system for myself that engages with the outer world and is um, engages with the outer world and puts me at the center of things. And that's the other thing I'm thinking. I'm going on and on and on. This is just really something else. I hope nobody's going to ever watch this, but except for that one person online. And is that one person online me? Maybe that's me. Watching myself. And so, oh shoot, I forgot what I was going to say. Well, this thing comes to mind. It just, I wonder about the electricity coming out of me and how I must be electric in some way. John used to say that to me. Karen, it's so funny when you touch me. And this when we were first dating. Um, I just feel that he didn't say electrical connection, but like a tingling or yeah, like a connection or electricity. Or he was really funny. It's crazy. And one guy when I was in Paris, I was marriage and so not so doing so well. And there was this one guy who said, "You malevolent me, Karen." I think I can't remember the word. And you know, put him on fire. Really make him feel more alive. And I've started putting salt in my water, but for I do some disgusting stuff with I just soak my feet every day. Anyway, I give myself a foot bath. Let's put it like that. And now I've started adding salt, and it just came to me the other day that I should be adding salt. And then I thought, doesn't salt have something to do with electricity? And I looked up salt, water, and or salt and electricity, and found that salt water lights light bulbs. And I wonder if me soaking my feet in salt water makes me more electric. I don't know. It's all so strange. Who can figure it out? I don't know. I wish somebody could really figure these things out for me because they are quite um, curious. And I'm not taking the Western point of view, um, medical point of view on it because why? because we don't have all the answers. I mean, we discount all the time um, spirituality, and really discounting spirituality is a huge mistake. It's like cutting off two arms of a body, because if you don't have spirituality, what are you here for? You're just here to like work and work and work and acquire things, and then you die and you go into the earth. I mean, well, that is too depressing for me. I just can't bear it. I couldn't just work and work and work and work and work and absorb beauty and not try to achieve being a better person and fitting in better within the world, and kind of giving back some of the things that you've received. I mean, it just doesn't seem right to me to just consume all the time. It needs to be a reciprocal arrangement where you're giving back to the earth that gave you the life that you get to live. And yeah, so spirituality for me is really important. And I hope this is all that I'm experiencing is part of a bigger picture of spirituality, that we all could experience this, because it is pretty spectacular. I mean, scary, because especially if you're the first one, it's really scary and lonely. But if I'm the first one and I go through all the hardship for you guys, and give you kind of a slight roadmap of the things to look out for, and the things to expect, then I feel like I've done my job. And and of course, I would like to speak to people in real time about this, and I would like people to ask me questions, and so I could try to figure out things to help myself and other people, because I can't think of all the questions. And when I'm thinking about other people, like uh, that I would want to say interview, I can think of a lot of questions I would like to ask them, but I feel kind of embarrassed to ask them because, well, are you poking into their private life? And is it something they really want to talk about? And, you know, like their work, how they come to say their screen personas, or how they prepare for their work on screen, um, how they prepare for football matches. All these things are so fascinating, but I don't find them so fascinating myself. I find them as fascinating in other people, but then I don't want to ask other people the questions, because why? Then it feels like I'm being maybe a little bit nosy, and maybe I should look at it like it's being more curious than nosy. Yeah. And also, I think it's more interesting if you're talking to other people. I mean, me talking at the screen is so boring. I mean, nobody even looks at my stuff. When I go in and look at analytics, I mean, oh, maybe one or two people. But mostly, mostly people aren't looking, and I don't blame them, because it's my mug up on the screen and nobody else, and there's no like great titles, and there's no fantastic background happening. So I guess these are the things I have to work on. So, and lighting, um, and planning. Okay, I got a lot of work to do. So I've got to go to Marble Hill House, where they're renovating the house and the grounds. English Heritage is doing that, and so I'm volunteering there. And so I have to be there at 11:30. So I'm going to end this, and I think anyway, my mouth is now I'm starting to get nervous, and it's been 35 minutes, and that's the longest I've ever been on screen live, and the most amount of rambling I've probably ever done so far. And it's opened up a whole avenue of thought that I never talked about before live or with anyone. And whenever I talk to people, I'm going to keep talking. I think whenever I talk to people about stuff, they seem to just look at me and climb up. I've mentioned this before, or they just go, "Yeah." And I kind of need people to be a little bit more interested in things, because sometimes I think that they don't know about it, or they think I'm crazy, or even that I have or obviously I haven't thought things through, and I'd like kind of some sort of framework on what people are interested in knowing. If they're interested in knowing anything at all, maybe they're not interested in knowing things, and that's why people don't talk to me about stuff. But yeah, that's what I'm finding the hardest at the moment. If I'm coming down to earth, then is anybody really actually interested? Except that one person who might actually be me on the YouTube screen, um, the YouTube stream, and that's it. Now I think I am done. Got to get ready. Oh no, 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 no! I want to say something else while I'm here. Actually, these are good for me to go back and make notes. I keep going to the clock for weeks now. I keep looking at the clock, and when I'm looking at the clock, it's so often, so very, very often, exactly on time of the hour. Whatever hour it is, it'll be 10 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and the or 1:01 or 11:01, or it'll be it's kind of indicating to me that it's time, that you're on time. It's time. It's you're ready. You need to go. It's time, and that keeps going over and over in my mind. Um, I know it's time for what, I don't know exactly, but it's time. I guess one of the times is me going to Earth. The other thing is me connecting better with people. Yeah. So it's time. Now it's time for me to go at 11:01.